When buying or selling your home, call Leo Bato. He has years of experience in real estate, showing honesty and integrity in every transaction. He's a person you can definitely trust. So book your appointment with Leo Bato today by giving him a call at 818-648-4837 or by visiting him on the web at www.leobato.realtor.
And the podcast will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, live at Paco's Place, my good friend, Mr. Mark Damian.
Nice.
Good to have you back.
Nice to be back.
You look sexy. What happened?
I'm blushing already.
What changed?
What's changed since last time I was here?
Oh, wait. Before you answer that, kudos to your first and second episodes, especially the second one, because we were kind of, remember, we were, do we do this? Do we not do this? Let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The dark episode.
The dark episode.
Yeah. Oh, my God. But then again, we inspired so many people.
That was terrifying, I got to tell you. Because I remember...
Goosebumps. Oh, my God.
I remember getting home and thinking to myself, what did I just do? What did I just talk about in a public forum?
Right?
And I'm like, okay, relax. You know, a couple weeks will go by. You know, the guys will send me you guys always send me the taped interview to say, hey, take a listen. If there's anything that you're really uncomfortable with airing,
we'll take it out. Never happened.
I never got that. And I just remember being on social media one day, seeing Mark Damian interview. Oh my God, my heart just dropped through the floor. I'm like, they didn't let me listen to this. They didn't let me. So I listened with it, everybody else that was listening, and I'm like, wow, you really said some stuff.
Big stuff. And I was pretty horrified at first. And then the messages started coming in. What were your feedback? Because I'll tell you mine after you tell me yours.
The feedback was pretty unbelievable. It was really, really positive. It was really, I thank you so much for sharing. I can't believe your sincerity. I'm like, neither can I. I can't. But people really, really dug not just doing an interview and phoning it in and promoting a show or a tour or a record. It was like, hey, we're going to talk about the not so good stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, rehab stints and, overindulgence in alcohol and drugs and this and
rejection,
that. And like,
everything
crap.
was there. Yeah.
And I didn't really, there were a couple things that I held back on, and I saw it during the interview. I'm like, that's still a little too, like, it's easier. I think people accept alcoholism more than they, will accept drug use.
Yeah.
So I was real. Like, we're not going to go there. My mom's going to listen to this. And so I did like reel it back in a little bit, but I unleashed enough to be like really, really terrified. But, I talked about a lot of stuff, and the response, I got more emails and more Facebook messages and more response from that interview saying, wow, that was really, really cool of you to talk about that stuff and, maybe help somebody out.
Yeah, because the first person who texted me after that episode was my then 26-year-old son. He's 27 now.
Oh, we talked about your son that episode too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he was like, wow, I'm a fan of this guy, Dad.
Everybody loves a story, I think,
it's authentic.
It was real.
Yes.
And when somebody doesn't have to live through the stuff that you're talking about, they like hearing about it. Yeah. And that's hey, interesting.
Very. But you know what? I'm very proud of you.
Hey, man.
Very proud of you.
It was a very relieving, and I'll even be more honest right now about it. the saddest part of it was by the time it aired, I had fallen off the wagon again. So I was getting all these great positive messages about, oh my God, you're so honest about this and so happy that you're doing so well. And I'm like, oh crap. So, but it's a work in progress.
It is
constantly
every
to just stay
day,
on the straight
every
and narrow.
day. Yeah.
And then you go out on the road and it's much harder because
Right.
you're like, okay, just one more time. I'm going to like, now I'm on this tour and I'm having, how am I going to have, any fun without doing my usual, thing. So, yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Right? Speaking of tour, really, Jeff
Skunk Baxter. We did most of May on the East Coast.
Wait. No. Let's start from the. How'd you get the gig?
Oh, how did I get the gig? A phone call?
Referral.
Yeah, I'll.
What were you doing when you got the call? Were you expecting?
I was in rehab.
Yeah. Why not? Right? You know what? It's not.
Man, your life's falling apart, but we got this gig for you.
I tell myself because it's not like every time I fall off the wagon, I'm like, I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna get back up, and like what we talked about when we first started the podcast, we touch one life, we're good. And you know what? Ironically, or maybe coincidentally, your episode was touching your own life at that time.
Wow, maybe.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, judging by the response, I mean, it really, people dug the real conversation.
Yeah, and the real you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were in rehab.
So
You had the call.
I'm chilling out, being clean and doing my meetings, and I have this friend of mine. We'll call him Jordan because that's his name.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Why change the names of the guilty?
Shout out to Jordan. Okay.
Jordan is one of my longest I met Jordan pretty early on in moving to Los Angeles in 2012. I think I probably met him within the first 6 months of me being here. And he works for a little band called Toto.
Nice little band.
Yeah, and so he's in that camp. And he's been a fan of mine for since day one. He came to see me play with the band. He's like, wow, that drummer's really good. He's got a pretty decent voice too. And, playing my ass off. And we just kept in contact.
Right.
And then for, fast forward 8.5 to 9 years of him calling me up saying, dude, I put your name in the hat for this gig. And never did it come to fruition. Never, ever, ever. So when he called me, I want to say in, it was probably March, I want to say, of this year. And he's like, I put your name in the hat for this gig.
And after 9 years, he was still enthusiastic every time.
He was still, I remember the big joke is like a couple years ago, he does a lot of session work for the Hallmark channel, and so he's always playing, these he's writing songs for scoring these really corny Hallmark movies. So he's like, I'm gonna get you on one of these gigs playing a session. It pays really great. I'm like, cool, man. Anything that you can throw my way after all these years. He calls me up one day. He's like, hey, man, I got you the session for this Hallmark gig. And I'm like all excited because I really need the work at that point. He's like, so how are your brush chops? Let that be a lesson to the young drummers coming up. Don't neglect the brushes.
No,
because the silence on the other end of the phone is, I'm like, oh. Honestly, so to this day, he's like, hey, man, how are your brush chops? So he calls me up in March, April, whenever it was, and he's like, hey, I put your name in the hat. I've introduced you to CJ Vanston, who's keyboard player, amazing, played with Joe Cocker for years. He's been on records with everyone from Barbra Streisand to Prince to he's and CJ and I have had drinks together. He's an acquaintance through Jordan. I've known him for probably about 7 years. And he's like, CJ produced a record for Skunk Baxter. I'm like, Skunk Baxter of the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan and like a gazillion records, you know.
He played guitars for Steely Dan, right?
He played guitar. He was a member of Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers, but he played guitar on probably like 300 records, like not even, you know, exaggerating. Like Donna Summer to Dolly Parton, 9 to 5 was him. I mean, all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll get that call. And I wasn't like, yeah, whatever, dude. I just said, oh, thanks, Jordan. I appreciate you putting my name in the hat, and I'll wait for the call. So I remember going to dinner that night with my girlfriend and a bunch of friends, and we were all having conversations about, hey, what's going on, blah, blah. And I just started, I'm like, yeah, so I got this call today, and I told them about it. And they're like, wow, that's pretty awesome. I'm like, yeah, never going to. And they're like, well, what if you get the call? I'm like, well, that'll even be more terrifying than not getting the call. Like I'm going to be ready for that gig. So I kind of forgot about it. And about 2 weeks later, because I had CJ's number in my phone, a big old picture of CJ comes up on my caller ID. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. And I answered the phone. I'm like, hello?
What'd CJ say?
And he's like, hey, man, how you been? Blah, blah, blah. Small talk. He's like, hey, I was talking to Jordan. Got this tour coming up. Got this record that I produced with Skunk Baxter. You know who he is. I'm like, yeah, I've heard of him, yeah. And he's like, I called Jordan because he's kind of, he's the young guy in the LA scene, and he's got a beat on who's the right cats for the gig, and we gave him the 3-part criteria. We said we need a good drummer. Okay, well, in LA you can kind of find a couple guys or girls that are
pretty good.
Play circles
just
around.
Go on TikTok,
Yeah, I'm gonna be started in that. And then number 2, they got to be able to sing.
Oh.
Okay, so the list gets a little smaller. And then third thing is they got to be really good with electronic drums. We want programming, we want sampling sounds from the record, all that stuff. And Jordan's response is, I got one name for you, and it's Mark Damian. And of course, in total typical LA response, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. If you are not in their face 24/7 reminding them who you are, the guy's been to my studio. He has a studio blocks from mine. He rehearses at Mates across the street when he's touring with Tears for Fears or wherever he's on. This guy's been on the road with everybody. And oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm available. And he's like, all right, well, we're going to set up a Zoom meeting with the 3 of us. I'm like, who's the 3 of us? He's like, oh, you and me and the Skunk.
It's Skunk.
Okay. So, I was in my private quarters and in my rehab facility. and I'm on this Zoom call with Skunk and Jeff, and I'm like, hey, and they just wanted to get a vibe, And then I remember CJ walked away for a little bit, and Jeff and I were talking, and he's like, so, what do you think about the record, man? Do you dig it? And I'm like, I haven't heard the record yet. CJ never sent me the record. I'm like, I don't know. He's like, oh, well, maybe you don't even like the songs. Maybe you don't even like the material. I'm like, Jeff, I think I'll be all right, man. I think whatever you're putting out is probably going to be pretty cool.
But see, honesty pays off. You could have easily said, yeah, I like it.
I mean, honestly, if I would have hated it, I would have been like, crap. Well, I guess I should do the. Oh man! And when I got they sent me a link to a private, song listing, and I listened to it. And I'm like, wow, is this going to be fun? This is just.
Who played drums on the record?
Oh boy, I think there were 2 or 3 different guys, and I cannot tell you one of them, and I feel really bad about that because I just don't remember. It wasn't Vinny,
okay.
It wasn't JR.
Okay.
Although those guys have worked all together,
yeah.
and the stories are just amazing,
So finally, wait, let's go back to the Zoom call. We're still there. So you haven't listened to the record. CJ was not in that Zoom meeting. It was just you and Skunk.
Well, no, the three, but he had stepped away to do whatever. So it was
just you and
Jeff
Skunk.
Yeah.
So how was he sizing you up?
You know, we were just talking about stuff. You know, we were talking about the record. He asked me if I heard it. I said, no, not yet. The CJ never sent it to me. He was really genuinely concerned about like whether or not I liked the material. And yeah, I mean, it was brief, but you know, look, there's a lot of people that complain, and we've talked about this before about like, you've got to share a stage. You gotta be at the hotels. You got to be in a bus in travels with these people for an extended period.
Yeah, the dynamic has to work.
So, you know, you can find the players in LA. You can find, you know, the list may shorten a little bit when you put all the criteria in, but are we going to be able to stand this guy for, for 6 weeks on the road or whatever? So I think they figured out that I was you know, cool enough to be in the room with him, and then weeks went by. CJ and I worked for about 6 weeks in pre-production.
Just both of you.
Yeah,
sampling
I would go
stuff.
to his studio. I'm like, all right, pull up the stems, man. I gotta, you know, pull these things in, and then, you know, I think CJ would talk to Jeff about like the amount of work that we were putting in, and you know, Baxter being kind of, you know, old school. He's like, man, why just show up and play the drums? And and CJ like, that's not why we called this guy. These were the things that we wanted out of this guy, you know? So the work on the front end, I was just happy to do it.
How many in his band? You, CJ?
There's 4 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But you guys have to sound massive, hence the stems, right?
Yeah. There's, I mean, you know, who doesn't use a laptop live anymore? There's a couple things on backing track, but CJ especially prides himself on playing all that stuff. He's got 2 boards, but they're split into 4 sections, and the stuff that guy's doing, I'm thinking is guitar stuff, and I'm like, where is that coming from? And then I'm seeing him, and he's playing it. There's a section where he's playing banjo and then pedal steel on top, and you know, the custom sounds that he's creating with these. I mean, the people on the record too. I mean, Michael McDonald is a guest vocalist and co-songwriter on one of the tunes.
So his stem is coming out.
Well, I mean, Hank, the bass player, is singing the lead vocal for that song. So Hank is taking like, you know, 90% of the lead vocal stuff. But it's like Clint Black is singing a song, Johnny Lang is singing a song, Michael McDonald. Who am I missing? It's like, you know, they really have a lot of different people coming in. I think the original intent was to put out all instrumentals. And I think Michael McDonald was the first one that said, "Hey man, vocals. I'll put something down."
Whatever you imagine.
Old flannel voice. That's what Jeff calls it. Old flannel voice came in and laid down this track, and boy, we're playing. I don't want to jinx it, but we're playing Santa Barbara coming up.
When?
It's the last day of the tour. I think August.
Wait,
8th.
where does the tour start and when?
We start, let's see, first rehearsal was today. We got rehearsal tomorrow. And
today,
Thursday.
by the way, this is being taped on
July
26th.
6th?
Is it 26th? Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So our travel day is Friday. So I want to say, what's Saturday, the 30th? Does that sound right?
Yes.
And
where will you be on Saturday?
We'll be, I believe, somewhere in or around about Sacramento is where we start, and then we make our way all the way down to San Diego.
Wow, West Coast.
So all West Coast. I know that we're in Los Angeles on Tuesday, the 2nd, August 2nd.
Where
at
at?
the Troubadour.
Nice.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
The Troubadour.
We should go watch and invite other people to go watch.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to prepare for this tour? Is that why you look sexy?
Well, yeah, because when I first got here, you're like,
no.
my God, you lost weight.
Yes.
Backhanded K. Yes. Yes. Yes.
This episode is brought to you by Leo Bato and Associates, ang realtor na patok.
No, I'll take that because the last time I was here, which was about a year ago, I was in a pretty bad
pandemic
place.
Your pandemic body.
Well, yeah, and that's what I kind of blamed it on. I was like, okay, I guess I'm not working out as often as I should be. I'm ordering in. I'm kind of fat, lethargic idiot, just like not doing what I should.
That's you talking. I never said anything.
No.
Okay.
No, but and here's another. We're moving into that whole honesty. Like we're just gonna talk about.
Mark, there's no reason for you not to be honest because that's your reputation on this podcast, man.
Well, I come here for the therapeutic. Like I should just stop with the weekly therapist and just come here, or at least Zoom meeting with you.
Your mom
I'll give you the money.
Okay, your mom gets excited every time you're. Oh, my son's gonna be honest again on Paco's podcast.
Yeah, what mom's thinking? What am I gonna learn about my son this time around? No, but I mean, nobody likes. I mean, it's another one of those taboo subjects. Okay, so mental health.
Yeah.
Which it seems to be a pretty talked about hot button issue.
Which
these
is
days,
good to be talked. Yeah.
I was on a medication, and I'm here to tell you about. I'm not going to tell you that I'm against medications because for some people they work, and but the process of figuring out,
the amount,
which one,
the amount. The combination.
The process of going through that was always what deterred me from doing it in the first place. And you know what? Sometimes it just sucks being right because I went through it. I went through, I think, 6 or 7 different medications. And mind you, when you start one, it takes about, 7 to 10 days for it to work into your system.
Right.
And about another 7 to 10 days to tell you if it's working for you or not.
Wow.
And you will learn very quickly if it is not the right one. And then you have to wean yourself off and then get back on another one. And it's just a disaster. But I'm like, okay, here I am. I just got to do this now. So long story short, I was put on a medication called Exalty, which is the devil in a pill. Hey,
how did it make you feel?
Well, here's the sad part about it is it worked, and it worked for a while, and I was just so pleased with the fact that it was working that I never bothered to Google the side effects. Ooh. I never asked any questions because I was just absolutely so desperate.
Yeah, because after those after those pills not working, the other ones, this one was like, hey.
Yeah. After a while, you just stop asking questions like, okay, what's this one going to do? What are the bad side effects? Because there's a list for every single one of them. And they put me on this crap called Exalty. And
what were the side effects of Exalty?
Well, I was on it for a year and a half, and I didn't get any of the side effects until a year in. I gained 24 pounds, hence the reason I was, heavy when I was here last. I slept for an average of 12 to 14 hours a day.
You lazy bastard.
Yeah. And I mean, people are yelling at me. You're like, you look like hell. You're sleeping too much. And we didn't know that was the problem. What was the other the third big one? And and here's a big one too. Dyskinesia. I don't know if you know the term.
Dyskinesia. Is that in Southeast Asia?
I've never been there. It's not a place you want to vacation.
Oh, that was Indonesia.
No. Dyskinesia is involuntary motion, very much like Parkinson's.
Oh.
So
not like Tourette's kinda, huh?
Borderline
Tourette's.
I mean, it's leg twitches, hand twitches, and most notably jaw movement that you can't control. So
it's like you're on meth.
You're chewing your tongue off, really. And
so you thought you were developing a habit?
Well, I didn't know what it was until people were starting to point it out. They're like, what's going on with your mouth? And then I was like, I don't know. I was wearing a mask a lot, and I thought that for some reason maybe I was wearing, like, I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing with my mouth anymore. So I thought that had something to do with it. I just didn't think in a million years that it was anything to do with the medication.
Right.
Had I just did a little bit of a search. Then I started seeing commercials for it. And the commercials, when they put medication commercials on, the stipulation is you can advertise your crazy ass drug, but you've got to put the list of every possible side effect.
With the guy saying it in 180 beats per minute, right? Side effects may cause.
Oh yeah, they do it fast, and they try to gloss over it, like it may cause, anal leakage, like whatever. It's always something terrible, but they just like gloss over it, like anal leakage, no big thing. You'll get by, but. And I think it was my longtime production and music partner Ken Roberts with the Josie Pace project. We were on the phone together, and he's like, "What is it that you're on again?" And I told him it's Exalty, and he's like, "Holy crap! You need to get off this stuff." He's like, "Have you read the side effects?" I'm like, "Negative." But I've been seeing these commercials, and I noticed that at the end of the commercial, like one of the big things is may cause involuntary movements in your face and limbs, could be permanent. I've been off this stuff for a long time, and I have things going on. Not nearly. I mean, it was really, really bad to the point where I was literally cut from a Josie Pace video because it was
terrible.
They're like, we can't use any of this footage. You will not want us to use any of this footage.
And you gained 10 more pounds on TV.
Yeah. So not only, I was catching a lot of hell for the weight gain, to their defense, they didn't know it was the medication. They're like, and then, this whole, chewing off my face on camera. They're like, yeah, you look terrible. You're doing all this weird shit with your mouth. We can't use any of this. So I was sadly cut from the video.
How did it feel? I mean, this whole rejection thing again, this whole frustration. You thought you found the right one, and then it wasn't the right one.
Yeah.
Did it cause a tailspin again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it did.
Of course.
Because, there I am being right again, I didn't want to be right, but I was right. I proved my point that this stuff is all garbage. It's never going to work. Maybe I should,
just get off
more old school and be like my dad, just,
deal with it. Suck it up. Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't been on any medication since. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it's just so scary, like, and I have, a musician friend of mine that recently I talked to, and he's like, yeah, my doctor put me on this antidepressant. I'm like, oh crap, it's not Exalty, is he? He's like, no. And then like 6 days later, he calls me. He's like, I can't do this. I'm sleeping for 10 hours. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like how number one, how long you been seeing this doctor? Because you just don't know, especially here in Los Angeles. The healthcare system is so terrible here. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yes.
And you just don't know if some pharmaceutical rep bought him a nice breakfast that day and he's prescribing X, Y, and Z because he's getting a kickback or whatever. So I'm like, I've been seeing this guy for 30 years. I trust him. I'm like, well, give it another 4 or 5 days and call him and say, just don't stop taking it cold turkey. You got to go through the process. And he got off and he's like, no. All I needed was one trial and error on this, and I just, it's not for me.
Now, when you got off Exalty, is that when you started losing weight, or did you have to go back to the gym?
It was a combination. I started feeling good enough to go back out and exercise, and I wasn't sleeping for 12 hours at a time anymore. And no, most of it fell off. It was like, a good 10, 12 pounds was gone within
Just
like
by
3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I got another 10 to go. And I'd still like to lose another 10, but at 45, that just seems damn impossible.
I'm 51.
Shut up.
I lost 28.
You are not 51
I am
years
51.
old.
Just turned 51 last week. Yeah. I just... Okay.
You are out of your mind.
No,
you are
because
not 51.
Watch our second video.
You don't put anything bad in your body, do
I
you?
do. But then
Oh my God.
No, but when you were heavy, I was heavy too that time. We were both heavy.
Yeah.
It was December 27, right, Jay? December 27, I decided to just, F this. I'm going back to my 20s weight. Whatever it takes.
Wow.
So I'm 152, 153 from 187.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It works.
Yeah, I was 190 at the worst point, and then
See?
back down to like
160?
172 now. But my
wanna go back
happy
160,
place is like 160.
Yeah, because you're taller than me. I mean, my normal's 150. You're probably 160.
Yeah. I was 162 for like ever. Those are the days.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got the gig. Finally, how did they say you got the gig? Did CJ tell you got the gig, or did Skunk tell you got the gig?
I mean, when they had the conference call with me on Zoom, they're like, "Yeah, the gig is yours. No audition required." I'm like, "Good Lord!"
So it was really
okay.
handed to
As
you.
long as you really like the material, I'm like, yeah. So I listened to it. I was really excited, and I started. Took me a week to get all the charts. Like, I didn't want to play a note until I get it all, on paper. Because anytime I don't do that, it's like, I just want to play. And then you start playing, and you're like, I just really need to see this in print and just get it all right.
So you really prepared for it.
Oh, my God. And that's been my MO for years, is I over-prepare for everything. And that's why I think, a gig that I played 20 years ago with a band, I can still recall
because you're prepared.
the parts.
Yeah.
Because I work on them so much, and they're now ingrained.
Yeah.
And I can.
I mean, just the fact that you could actually play Rush.
That was
Note
training.
for note.
That was training.
Still, right?
Yeah.
Still.
I mean, when you memorize, an 18-minute, song like 2112 or Hemispheres or one of those long compositions, and but that is the training,
Yes.
And at that point, I wasn't writing it out, or I was just listening, playing, playing, and young enough to
memorize everything, to get through
to
it.
do it.
What? Okay, so preparation for this tour, you were doing stems, pre-productions with CJ. Gear, are you bringing your own gear, or is it being cartaged?
We did cartage on the East Coast.
Okay, to your specs.
Oh yeah.
But your drums are custom made.
Well, I mean, look, I DW Collector's Series kits are and they're everywhere around the world, and that's one of the lovely parts of being, an endorser of DW is wherever you are, we will supply you a drum kit. Oh my God, that's just gorgeous. So, and on the East Coast, I mean, there's no shortage of
so to your exact specification.
Yeah, I had a great maple, black. It's got to be black. That's the big letters.
Yes.
Anything black.
But then again, this new kit that you have, it's a satin finish.
The new kit that I just had built is a satin oil ebony finish.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Well, what size is the kick?
1822.
Okay.
Always.
Okay. And
Always.
then for your toms.
10, 12, 15, 16.
Okay. And then I saw the video. So what's over there at the very
Well,
end?
I always do 2 rack toms and then a floor tom on either side. And then there's a side snare further off that I don't do for live gigs unless required.
Right.
But yeah, in my studio, it's a 6x10 little popcorn snare.
And what kind of snare are you using? Main snare.
Well, I mean, very rarely does one order a matching snare drum when they get a kit, but I put in the order for the 10, 12, 15, 16, 18, 22 kick. And about 2 days later, I sent another email to Garrison, my rep, and I said, has anybody ordered, because this is a very, very new kit that they designed in terms of, it's called Purple Core, which means in the center, there's purple heartwood that makes up 3 ply of the shell. And then on the outer and inner shell, you get to choose between maple, or mahogany, or cherry.
Oh, cherry.
Yeah.
Ah,
I went with cherry.
nice.
And the
So
whole
cherry on both sides and then purple heart. in the
purple
middle.
heart in the middle. Yep. So the cherry is from Michigan. The purple heart is from South America. And the point of the purple heart in the center, and this was the kicker for me, because I was about to go, I mean, John Good and I designed this whole hybrid of
John Good is
cherry.
the founder of DW, right?
He's one of the 2 founders, yep.
Uh-huh.
And the vice president, the guy that comes up with all this amazing, these concepts. And when I talked to him 3 years ago to get a new studio kit, he's like, I want to get you into this spruce hybrid that I got going on, because he had just gotten access to the Stradivarius fields of the forest in Italy that they make all the cellos and violins and stuff. So I was going to go cherry spruce. And then I finally made room in my studio. I sold my birch kit that I'd had in there to Eric Johnson's drummer.
Really?
In Austin, yeah. He was about to go on tour with Eric Johnson and said, hey, I see that you have this birch kit on Reverb. They're my sizes. I love the looks of it. DW is very far behind on like everybody is, because of, post-pandemic. We're very much still in pandemic. And I can't get a new kit by then. So long story short, I sold him the birch kit. I go to DW and say, I finally made room. Let's do this spruce cherry thing. And then at the last minute, I'm like, Garrison, is this still the right kit for me? I like to tune. All I said was, you guys know that I like to really tune low, like lowest fundamental that I can get out of each drum. Just
You like the thud.
guttural,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he's like, oh, we have a new thing
And that was it.
called Purple Core. Check out this link. And it was a link to John Good talking with Thomas Lang
Yeah.
about this new concept of the Purple Core. And I'm like, oh, crap. Now it's going to take me 6 more months to like wrap my head around like what to do, because they're giving me more options. Like if I go to a restaurant and there's too many things on the menu, I'm like,
It
I'm
stresses
having
you
a
out.
panic
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah, me too.
So now I got to choose. Okay, the Purple Core thing is the way to go for the way I like my drums to sound. But do I do maple, mahogany, or cherry? I don't know. So I'm watching these videos and I'm listening to them play, and I'm talking to other people. Like, okay, let's rule out maple, because I've got 2 other maple kits. That's easy. You can get a maple kit tomorrow. Mahogany was interesting, and it worked for Ringo. That's the old Ludwigs were made out of, but it's a dark sounding, thing. And I'm like, I'd like cherries, and this is Michigan cherry, and I'm from Michigan, and it just all seems so perfect. So I'm going with cherry, and that's what I got. And Mike was at my studio today, and he saw the kit, and it's I named her Minx, because Minx is a perfect name for this kit. Satin oil ebony, black nickel hardware, and
Really? Oh, really? Huh? Even the hardware, huh?
yeah,
Okay.
black on black, ebony heads on the bottom to make it more black.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's not going anywhere, though.
No, that stays in. So how we got on this whole thing, though, because you asked me what snare I'm taking on the road with Baxter, so I took the long way around. I'm picking out, I'm getting my live kit ready for rehearsals today, and I'm about to leave. I'm like, oh, yeah, what snare drum am I taking on the road?
This episode is brought to you by ABBA E-Services.
And I'm looking at this whole, rack of snare drums. I'm like, I'm taking even though I said I would never take it on the road or anywhere outside the studio, I'm taking the matching purple core cherry snare because it's just cool.
So now it's easy to actually say you're actually playing a DW kit.
Well, yeah. I've been playing DW kits for...
But you see, that's debatable. Because if you're playing... Remember, I don't know if we had this conversation, but if you have a DW kit and a Yamaha snare drum, what kit are you actually playing on?
Well, look, I haven't played... This is how we... You know how we met, right?
Yeah.
Because I got my DW endorsement... And I said, anything that doesn't have a DW logo on it is gone.
The Black Beauty had to go, right?
The Black Beauty was gone, and Mike was the person that bought it, and our relationship spawned from there.
Yeah.
The only exception that I make, because now I've replaced everything. So I played a Black Beauty for a long time. Sold the Ludwig Black Beauty, and I replaced it with a 6.5
DW?
black nickel over brass DW, which
there you go.
Okay. Let's all be honest, what that is. It's their version of the Black Beauty, and then I got an 8x6 or 8x14 version for playing with Josie Pace. So I have a wall of DW snare drums. The only exception is the Brady Jarrah Block. Australian
Brady drums, yeah.
And they're not going to fault me for that,
I had that because when I had the cherry red DW, the Performer, I was using my Steve Jordan snare drum.
Is that the 7x13?
Yes.
We were talking about that earlier. It's a 7x13.
I sold that.
Little snare, man.
I sold that snare. I bought that snare for $168.
That's a good price.
Sold it brand new, Sold it for $500, only to find out. No wonder the person who bought it fast. It was $1,200 on eBay.
Are they not making them anymore?
No.
Wow. I remember that snare. I obviously because I rattled off the size right away. It's so memorable. It's like nothing else sounds like it.
No, so nice.
And 7x13. What an interesting sounding drum.
But then again, right? And then my friends go, "Are you really playing a DW kit or a Yamaha snare?"
Your snare drum is
your
the signature.
Yeah.
Drum.
So after that, I
you're only playing so many toms in a night. Your kick drum's gonna be pushing air like a kick drum does, whatever.
So your sound is from the snare, and that's when I started playing the matching snare drum that came with the Performer. So I play a cherry red DW snare.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I can actually also say I play DW drums.
Yeah.
But it's true though, no. Now with regard to your gear. Mm-hmm. Are you going to tour with a roadie?
We have two guys that we travel with, and all the heavy lifting is done, which is really great.
Yeah.
Now my still the drums come out of their cases, and I'm putting them up, and I'm at the end of the night I'm handing them off.
Yes.
So I'm still doing some legwork.
What's your expectation?
Because my favorite thing, my pinnacle, my take all the fame and fortune. I don't care about that stuff anymore.
Right.
Just set up and tear down.
Right, because our fingers, our hands.
Just don't want to do that crap anymore.
We're not getting any younger.
So there's still a bit of legwork, but what's very humbling and makes me just shut up and move your gear is at the end of the night when Hall of Fame guitar player Skunk Baxter is carrying drum cases out to the van, to the bus, whatever. I'm like, Doesn't matter where you're at. It just there's
so
stuff
nice,
to
no?
be done. You just do it.
Here he is leading by example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you think this is the start of something big? Gur?
Oh man, I'm so I can't speculate now.
You're still a pragmatist, no?
Yeah, I mean, look, do I hope that a guy like C.J. Vanson is a working
Yes.
cat that
Yes.
plays on really high profile stuff? Do I hope that turns into work for me? I'd be lying if I said no. Of course. Looks great on the resume to have toured with legends like this. CJ and Skunk both.
How about with Josie? Are you still doing anything with Josie and Leif?
Yeah. I just played with Lath and Josie last month. I had just gotten. There's so much I've left out. Like how much longer do we have? I did the Skunk tour, then I did the TV tour with Startup for I was on the road for
Startup, you've
ages.
had that gig for a long time.
Yeah.
You done with the season? What season are you in?
Well, we're in season 10.
Imagine, no? What's that, from season 2 or from season 1?
I started working. I think I started mixing it in season 2, and then I started doing field audio in season 4, and then started doing the music score in 6.
Look at you.
And then we were nominated for 3 categories in the daytime Emmys this year. So,
So you busy.
Yeah. So, Skunk tour, then Startup tour, and then I got done with the Startup tour and had to fly to Michigan to do 3 shows with Josie, 3 shows with Lath.
So 3 shows with Josie and Ken, right? Okay, and then Lath. Okay, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And to come off the TV tour, because I didn't pick up a drumstick for 5 weeks. And I'm like, oh man, what am I going to sound like? And not to mention I had a broken hand.
Wait. How did this happen?
Did I gloss over that?
Yeah, I want to know about that broken hand. How did that happen?
Broke my hand right before the Skunk tour.
Doing what?
So there's, I'm walking down the street and there's
so many things you can.
There's this burning apartment building, and there's screaming children in the top floor that I had to go in and save.
Whatever.
And no, it wasn't anything noble or cool like that. I slammed my hand down on the desk and broke this bone right
Ouch.
here. So I played the Skunk Baxter tour with a broken right hand.
Did they know?
Yeah, they did. Did you notice that? You know what? Of all the social media posts that were being, posted during that tour, and I had this thing on, and only one person, my buddy Chris Phillips, who plays in this band called I Am Dynamite. You should check them out. They're a great band. He's like, "What are you wearing? Drum gloves now? What the hell?" And I'm like, I just didn't even respond to it because I was so embarrassed. But yeah, I did 6 days worth of rehearsals with Baxter and the guys, and it was Easter Sunday was my day off. That Saturday we get done with the rehearsal, and I had gone home, and I had slammed my fist down, and I'm like,
Well, out of frustration. I'm going to ask questions, right? You're going to actually say cucumber.
"That's so stupid." One thing about the guys in this band is they don't break for lunch. We did 7 hours. I didn't eat a damn thing. I got home and I said, okay, I'm going to do my taxes real quick because these taxes got to get done before I go on the road, and it's already April 5th. I think it was April 15th. I'm like, I know there's a couple extra days to do it, but I got to get my taxes done. And I'm just sitting there. I'm hangry. I'm so hungry. And I'm just and I'm trying to crunch numbers and do my own taxes. And my girlfriend calls. She's like, and I'm not blaming her by any means, but she's like, well, what do you want to have? I'm like, just bring me food. I need food. you have no idea how badly I need food right now. And she's like, well, what would you like? We can have sushi. We can have like tree bark off a tree that on the way. I just don't care. Put it on a plate. I'll eat it. Yeah, but we could have. I'm like, I'm trying dearly to justify my stupidity, but I slam my fist down in anger, and I'm like, that didn't just happen. That didn't just happen. That doesn't feel good at all. And by the time she got there, I was, whimpering, and I'm like, this is not good.
It got swollen right away.
Well, it did, and it hurt like hell, and I ended up eating some garbage from, fast food, whatever. And
should have said yes to sushi.
I had sushi the night before. I didn't want sushi anymore.
You're one of those girls, huh?
Stupid. So just eat the damn sushi, man. Would have been healthy and lean.
Right?
No, I didn't eat the sushi. I tried to pretend like everything was okay, and I woke up that Easter Sunday morning, and my whole hand was black and blue.
Damn.
I said, okay, well, I guess we're spending the holiday in
urgent care.
We went straight to Cedars-Sinai, where rock stars go to die in Hollywood. I'm like, just take me to where everybody else goes when they do something stupid like this. And the doctor comes in, and she's like, that's not a good sign. The black and blue is pretty telltale.
Is it micro? Was it micro fractures, or was it a big?
It wasn't a hairline. There was pieces.
Damn.
There was pieces, and they did the X-ray, and I'm sitting there, and they're like, "Yeah, it's broken."
Oh.
And I'm like, so, I'm just okay. So how do I do this gig that I have? And they're like, "Oh no, you can't do this gig." I'm like, "Look, I'm doing this gig, so you need to put something on me that I can still play drums." And God bless them, they played along with it. Okay, yeah, we're gonna put something on you that you'll be able to play drums.
Whatever, right? What did they do? They
put this splint that went from my elbow to here. And they got done putting it on me. I'm like, I can't play drums in this. And like, we know you're not going to be able to play drums in this. You're not going on the tour. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue with you people anymore.
And this was the first leg, right? This was, you guys haven't started?
We got another week of rehearsals.
Oh, shoot.
And then a week off, and then East Coast. I'm just like, okay, so I fought with them, and they're like, sir, what you do after you leave here is your business. I'm like, that's all I needed to hear. Walked out the door. I called he's a doctor friend of mine that does all my acupuncture, and I call him the rock doc, but that has a connotation from the 80s that wouldn't be very good. They used to give you other things to get past the
John
pain.
Taylor used to go.
I know, right? We call it the reflex video. They call the rock doc. Shooting his foot full of morphine and giving him cocaine, to keep him up. Yeah. That wasn't this. That was, hey, this is what's going on. He's like, all right, come to the office. And we cut the thing, off, and he gave me this other brace. He basically made it, because I was in a mad panic. I was,
Yeah.
This is the worst possible, how did I screw this up?
Yes. Self-inflicted this time.
So he calmed me mentally more than anything.
Okay, good.
Because all the acupuncture and the stuff that he was doing, that probably did nothing, in all honesty. But he calmed my head and got me in a place where you can do this. And, so I had one, brace for non-playing time. And then this other wrap that probably did nothing anyway. I was just,
maybe sort of like kinesiology. Those.
It held.
Tape,
it held things together, I guess.
Chiropractors do.
I played the East Coast tour with a broken hand, and it was painful as hell. But they knew about it because it was kind of hard to hide. When I showed up on Monday, wearing this contraption, and I'm trying to, hey fellas, how was your, day off? And CJ looks at me, he's like, what's I'm like, non-issue? Non-issue. Okay, I'm gonna ask again. Cool. So I still hadn't picked up a drumstick until he's like, all right, coming off the first tune. I'm like, ow. Every hi-hat beat was just excruciating. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is eighth note city and 16th notes. And bang, bang, bang. Tom Phil. Ouch. And yeah. So we played the entire 90-minute set. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that was painful, but I did it.
Yes.
We took a break, and Skunk's son, Fender, is one of our road crew. And he's there, and he's like, dude, what's up with the hand, man? I'm like, just don't worry about it, man. Everything's good. But relentless. Hey, man, you need any ice for your hand? Is your hand okay? All frickin' day. Don't worry about the hand, man. It's all good. So we get done with the set the second time through, and now it's like 7 p.m. It's ready to call it. And, okay, boys, we'll see you tomorrow. And Skunk and CJ walk out to the parking lot. His son Fender says, hey, man, you gotta tell me what's going on with the hand. I'm like, okay, fine. It's broken.
Oh, man.
And as soon as I said that, CJ and Skunk are walking back in the room. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's broken. It's broken. And they're like, oh, my God. And Skunk's like, oh, my God, we got to cancel. I'm like, hey, everybody chill. Here's what's going to happen. And I gave this epic, overly, perfectly dramatic speech about one of my heroes, Tom Brady, at the time of the New England Patriots. I'm like, guys, picture it. 2017, 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, routine handoff during practice. The greatest quarterback of all time practically rips the thumb off his throwing hand, handing the ball off to Burkhead. Runs off the field screaming, and the whole team is like, oh my God, we just killed the greatest quarterback of all time right before the Super Bowl. Tom Brady goes, gets, this is probably 2 days worth of work, but I mean, his thumb is practically off his hand. They stitch him up. They put, 30 stitches, Guys, he won the Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl that year. I'm doing this tour. This is my Super Bowl. Y'all are my Tom Brady. And they're like, awesome. We're going out to, and it was just like that was it.
But you see, the nice part is that they believed in you. They believed with you.
Yeah. Well, every day, Skunk comes out of the hotel. Hey, man, how's the wing?
Of course.
I'm good, man. He's like, I just hope you're not doing any more damage to it, I'm like, this is worth it.
So, but at least we're able to rehabilitate the hand.
Well, I mean, so we did all those weeks on the road. I came back to LA. I got new x-rays, and this was 5 weeks after the break. And the doctor says, what the hell you been doing, man? This thing hasn't healed one bit.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm a professional drummer. I went on this tour and I played, he's like, oh man, you need another 5-6 weeks
to rest.
He wanted to cast it, and I'm like, please don't. I'll put that thing back on and wrap it up because I still had access to these 3 fingers, and all I had to do for the next 5 weeks was hold the boom mic and
that was for
the TV tour.
Yeah,
and I said, if I promise to keep this stupid thing on, just he's like, all right, you got to keep it on. And, so as I'm getting to the end of the TV tour, I've got 6 shows, 3 with Josie, 3 with Lath.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, I don't even know how this is going to be. So I think the rehearsal was on a Thursday, and I'm in New York on a Monday. And I'm at the 4.5 week. It's still not
Yeah, of course.
time to take this thing up. And I'm like, I got to see if I can play. So I take it off, and I can't close my hand.
Of course.
I can't close my hand, let alone hold the
Yeah, you got
drumstick,
that
let alone
atrophy.
have the, So I freaked out a little bit. Another panic attack.
This episode is brought to you by Leo Bato and Associates, ang realtor na patok.
I don't handle anxiety very well at all. But, I just kept on working it. A lot of heat, then exercise, then ice, then heat, then exercise, ice for
How is
3
it now?
days. I play well.
Okay.
I play great.
Is it still painful?
Does it feel great? It does not. It feels like somebody's holding
Yeah.
this part of my hand.
Yes.
I have full motion.
But it's numb.
I feel good when I'm playing, but as I sit here right now, I know exactly where that break is, and it doesn't feel good, and it'll probably never
Right
will.
now, on that note, I have a tear. I have a micro tear here.
Ooh, in the
And-
bicep.
Yeah, it hurts. Like I can't shake hands. Like when I'm shaking hands, it hurts. But I have to play. I have more shows to do until So it's like
Show must go on.
so. After this tour, I'm gonna. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it hurts.
Yeah,
But we have to do what we have to
that's probably never gonna go away at 51.
do. Thank you for the encouragement.
I ain't going nowhere.
Right?
No.
Right?
This is not going anywhere.
It's like on the road to arthritis.
Man. So, it's the normal stuff, like tightening wing nuts. I'll feel it.
Yeah.
Me
opening water bottles.
When I'm playing, it's like no
Yes,
problem whatsoever.
yes.
Thank God. But no, like in normal, it just feels terrible.
You know what? What's so nice, and I hope you're ready for it
I'm gonna
because
regret this interview too.
No.
man. Like, giving up way too much information.
no, because
just making myself look like the moron that I am.
if you guys watch the first Mark Damian episode,
the
and then-
2-part 4-hour
Yep.
mini series of
Yep, that was epic. And then the
was a
dark
good one.
the dark episode. We'll put the link in the description.
please
and then
do.
this, you know what's so nice about what's happening to you right now is you're finally getting the momentum and the breaks that are due you.
Don't say breaks.
I know. JJ,
No, I hear you, though.
you know
I
what
hear
JJ did? There was I digress, guys. But we had a guest. Hi, Ivert. Shout out to Ivert. He's a drummer. No, he's a bass player, and he doesn't have he only has one leg. Okay, and JJ was positioning the band, and he's like, Ivert, don't move past Paco, or else you might lose your hand or your arm. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. The guy just can't you. How tactless can you be?
Maybe a poor choice of. Wow.
But anyway, I digress. But to my point is, you're getting all these the no pun intended, no pun intended breaks. Okay. Because the dark episode, I mean, we were talking about rejection. We were talking about being close to the goal and losing it. And you even stated that, at your age, you're not expecting.
Yeah.
But
Not getting the calls for the pop kids.
But here
in
it
their
is.
20s and,
Here it is. It
Yeah,
can only
maybe.
get better, right?
yeah.
Damn.
We'll see.
Now, since we talked about injuries, is there a plan B? I mean, startups there. You're doing good there.
A plan B from what?
For you, as an entrepreneur, Mark Damian Incorporated. What if a time
Other
comes?
than music?
Maybe.
No.
Because you're doing
There's
sound.
never been a plan B.
I mean, but you're doing sound production now. I mean, that's doing well.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure what?
Well, look, I mean, it's not like I position myself to do other television shows. And,
Yeah.
And, a movie might come up here and there where I'll I'll mix a movie and stuff like that. But that's few and far between. And every time I get those calls, it's like, boy, that takes
a lot of your time.
Yeah, you got to devote weeks and weeks. I just can't do that. I did get a call for a movie not too long ago. And, it just, there's a parallel of drummer, audio guy.
Yep.
Audio is like drummers seem to be the necessary evil that nobody wants to deal. Like, bands just hate drummers.
Yeah.
We take up too much space on
the stage.
We want to be paid well. And then there's the audio job. And you just so happen to be the last line on the budget when the filmmakers are, they want to shoot in 6K now, and they want drone operators, and they want the perfect colorist, and all these great, and then, oh crap, we gotta have it sound good too, and they just don't ever have the money. So I laughed this guy out of the room the last time I got a call for a film, and I'm like, well, what's the budget for the movie? He's like, well, it was $1 million.
Right.
And I'm like, so you spent $980,000 on the visuals, and all you have left for
20K?
The other 50% of what people are experiencing is this small amount, and you want it not only mixed in 5.1, but you need sound design,
of course,
score, and Foley. I'm like, man, you are calling the wrong dude.
Yeah.
No thanks. So when those things are right, I might take things on. But that's a lot of work.
Right.
And I'm just, I'm drumming,
So, I'm setting you up for the actual question I have for you. So let's talk about gratitude.
Yeah. Let's talk about gratitude, because I'm really bad at gratitude. I have on my dry erase board on my refrigerator, I learned this is what you learn in rehab is you have to, just put 3 things on a list every day.
Okay.
Gratitude. Now I even simplified it for myself because 3 sometimes really hard. So I just say, just put 2 on the list every day. And I have a lot to it should be a paragraph of stuff.
But see, the nice part about you is that you're open and honest about this. Have you always been that? And the reason why I'm asking that is because there are people watching who are, again, going to be inspired by you. You are the reluctant inspirator. Is there such a word?
I don't know.
Inspirator.
Well, hey, these, in all honesty, these interviews, and we all get really good at making things look and sound good. You're not going to put up on Facebook,
right?
How well, some people do, and they do talk about how terrible stuff is,
shitty their life is, or whatever.
Right. Yeah. But if you do what we do, and you just hey, I'm on the road, I'm doing this, and everyththing can look really, really good,
glossy.
It can, and because these things, I treat social media like it is like I'm turning this into a PR manager.
Yeah, why not?
Well, and that's the thing. So I'm always going to make it look good on Instagram and Facebook.
But isn't this so?
I'm always going to come here and talk about stuff
that's
in
real.
a positive light. And even when I'm being truthful about some not so positive things, I can laugh about the broken hand now.
Yeah.
I can poke fun at being in rehab 2 times
But I do
over
feel that
and
you
falling
being
off the
here,
wagon.
but again, I feel that you being here is so paradoxical compared to your social media posts.
Mm-hmm.
But they both work hand in hand, though.
Yeah.
Because even me, like when we did the dark episode, I was reflecting with Jay. I was telling JJ that was deep, and he was like, yeah, I was glad you guys pulled it out because we were able to get out of it. And I remember
I'm glad you didn't send me an advanced copy.
we didn't want
because
to
I
because
would.
you would have said no to that.
Hell no! No way. I would have denied. I'm like, no, you guys can't put any of that out.
But you know what?
my
Okay,
God.
this is what happened there. You guys should watch it because what happened was we had to watch it objectively.
Yeah.
And
Jeez.
we were like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah. Can't get over all this. Yeah. Well, hey, it is what it is, and
But see,
know?
you're able to be honest about even you talking. Fender asked you, you were reluctant to say it. You finally said it out loud enough for them to hear it. You could have texted it. I'll text it to you.
right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, your honesty is what gets you ahead. Even if they go back and watch how you got the startup gig, I mean, that was just pure honesty as well. So, your honesty and gratitude.
What? Because I told them their audio sucks and they should hire me.
right?
I was
Right?
pretty straightforward with them at that point too.
But then again, you were doing that for your friend, and you didn't want your friend to be in trouble with this whole thing, and that came from a good place.
Sure. No, I'll take it, man.
Right?
That all sounds great.
Because it is great. It is great. So now, after the Skunk Baxter, are you guys planning of going in? Are you guys planning on going back to the studio?
Oh, I don't. Well, I mean, I think the gigs are going to keep coming. They keep adding dates. We're going to Japan in August.
How's that?
So much paperwork.
Let's talk.
It's insane.
Okay.
The work visas and the this and the that. I mean, hey, I have gratitude for that. I can't believe I'm going to Japan.
First time, right?
Going to Japan for the first time.
You know where you go. You know where you're going.
Playing like a gazillion shows in Tokyo. We don't have to move. We're just playing the same venue. We're doing like 7-8 shows in Tokyo, and then we've got to go
If someone
to like an hour drive.
If someone gives you a Rolex, or if someone gives you a TV, don't say no.
What?
Yeah. Don't
What
wear.
the hell am I going to take a TV? What am I going to do with it? Who's going to give me a TV?
Just
Is this common like thing?
It depends. If they like you, they'll give you stuff.
Okay.
Just say thank you. Just say domo arigato.
Oh. Okay.
And then just put it in a box, ship it over to the US.
I'll take it.
Don't wear a watch.
I haven't worn a watch since I got an iPhone.
And then
in 07.
if they say, oh, you don't have time, you don't have watch, no watch. I give you watch. Thank you. Domo arigato.
Okay. That's fine by me.
If you don't go home,
I've already gotten some fan mail. Like how they even. I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I just got this one email a couple weeks back that was just awesome. It's like, hey, I'm a big fan of Baxter, and I know you're his drummer. I'm like, I don't even know that. I'm not on the record. I'm like, I guess social media, you can figure it out pretty easily. But he's like, I'm really excited to come see you play. I hope to meet you, and you can, sign a couple things from like.
Are you ready for
fan
this?
mail from Japan?
Are you ready for this? And
Never.
then,
Never.
what?
No, I always
Here's why.
over prepare, feel good about where you're at, and do your job.
No.
Yeah. I'm
because-
going to enjoy the hell out of it.
No. Because here's where my question is coming from. With you and Ken, and yeah, you relinquished co-producing titles because, according to you, Ken's doing most of the work. You're just there to play drums, so it's like you get that. That's yours, right?
Yeah.
There's always that reluctancy in you, with you. That's why when I'm asking, are you ready for this? Because you have to be ready when it comes. You have to be catapulted or brought into that mindset wherein, yeah, you're playing for a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You gotta walk the part,
I'm doing it, baby. Feels good. I love playing with those guys. Josie's got great things coming up.
Right. And you're still a drummer.
Yeah. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to do a tour that they have coming up. And that's really hard.
See, look at that. Look at that demeanor. I mean,
well, you work for 6 years.
Yeah, you've invested a lot.
Develop
Yeah.
a sound and a thing,
an image.
And then now they got this touring opportunity, and it's just. I can't even give you a short answer of why I can't do it, because there's just bullet point after bullet point of why, from scheduling nightmares to, it's just not going to work out.
Let's cucumber that, but
Cucumber.
because that's a crossroad.
Yeah.
Here are your friends.
Yeah.
And you've worked with them getting to where they are going to, which is now. And then here is you, Mark Damian Incorporated, who traveled from Michigan to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is finally happening for you. And of all the time, things can happen, they had to happen almost at the same time. Right? So that's a crossroad.
Yeah.
How hard was it for you to make?
Having to say no to anything, somebody, where was I? I was just playing, it might have been one of the Josie shows or a Lathe show. It was one of the Michigan shows. And it was a Josie show. And these guys were asking me, oh man.
And they were excited, right?
They were excited
and
to
you
talk
weren't
to
telling
me.
them.
Well, they
anything at this
asked me
point.
this. So you're a hired gun drummer. Like, that's your profession. I'm like, yeah. They're like, how is it being a hired gun? I'm like, 2 words come to mind: scheduling nightmare. Because it's like, that's what happens. It's like when things are really running at full force,
everybody wants you.
now you've got to say no to certain things, and you're just not accustomed to doing that. You say yes to everything, but then there's only so many hours in the day. There's so many calendar, like, you just can't do
Logistics
it. Yeah.
nightmare, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Terrible. So they're doing this 40-day tour in every major city in North America, and it's grueling.
How are you able to say no to that? I mean, how did you guys, the 3 of you, sit down?
Oh my God, we spent weeks trying to figure out how it was going to work, if it was going to work, and
But how'd you raise your hand? Let's go back to going, excuse me. I have something to tell both of you.
Well, yeah. I mean, day one when we started hashing out the details, it's like, wait, what, and how, and what? I'm like, Ken, you and I are no spring chickens, man. Like, I can't even fathom the idea of doing this tour in my mid-20s. Like, this is grueling.
Oh, that was your excuse, huh?
Well, that was the first
review.
thing of concern was
Okay.
like, I just don't even think I can physically do this. This is like what they're putting these bands through now. It's like 9 days on, 1 day off, 11 days on, 1 day. Like, how is she gonna
Tears
sing
for
all
Fears
these?
used to do that back in 1982, not right now. Okay, go.
They were pretty comfortable in their travels too, and that's the other thing. It's like, I got to think about, well, how are we traveling? Really? That's how this circus is getting from city to city? And I'm like, wow, this is just, I just, and like I said, there was not one definitive, like, no, I'm not going to do this because I'm a prima donna and now I'm touring with them. It wasn't like that. But it is hard to go backwards.
It is.
And
especially at our age.
And that's the thing. It's like, this is not good for my mental health or physical health.
Yes.
I'm right in the thick of audio post and music supervision for this television show that I've been on for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how, like, even if I could do this on a laptop have you seen what they're traveling in these days, these bands? Like, they're not even buses.
No.
It's not
even an RV.
It's a moving van,
Yeah.
like a half semi.
Yeah.
know when to, and just bunks like your what do you call it? Like you're
your
just
livestock.
a box on a shelf. Yeah. It's hideous. And I'm like, so I got to be able to mix, start up, and do music supervision during the day in travels in a bunk, and hope that I have internet connection to be able to do,
Yes.
And then, oh man, there was something that we got offered by another touring band, and we were going to be direct support or maybe even the opener of 3 bands. And the band was like, not only do you have to pay us to be on this tour, you've got to set up and tear down our equipment. And when Ken told me that on the phone, I think probably to Vegas, you could hear me screaming obscenities I'm like,
This episode is brought to you by ABBA e-Services.
who the hell did these
Yeah.
people think they are, and why humiliate?
Yes.
Like what's with the humiliation these
I agree.
days? Like, okay, I got to pay you to be able to perform, to kind of rent your audience.
Yeah.
Mind you, I've never heard of you, and I've listened to your material, and it's not very good. And I've got to schlep your gear. So it's like any young artist that's up and coming right now, it's like, how are you doing this? How is anybody doing this? I have the gratitude. I have the luxury of playing with,
With Skunk.
yeah, with guys that, CJ, I'll say something to CJ like, oh, CJ came in to rehearsal and he's like, here's footage of me playing with Dennis DeYoung on Solid Gold in 1987. I'm like, holy shoulder pads, Batman, look at you. And I'm like, God, I was 10. And he's like, shut up. I'm like, no, don't misinterpret. I'm not making fun of you for being an older cat.
Right.
I'm envious because you were doing this in the
Yes.
heyday. I'm like, I bet you got paid pretty well for doing that TV appearance.
Yes.
You didn't even have to play a note because it was all lip synced at that point. And now
True.
you've got to pay tens of thousands of dollars
Just
to
to get-
have
yeah.
the luxury of opening up for some, Now, if it was Depeche Mode or somebody.
Why not?
Yeah. I would pay to open up for Depeche Mode.
Yep.
Sure would.
Yep.
I would take no money to go on a 40-day tour.
I don't know if we talked
No.
about like Duran Duran paying Blondie $7,000-$8,000 to go on their US tour.
We didn't talk about that, but
They did that.
wow.
'Cause
That
it was
was
worth it.
like 81, 82.
Yeah, because Blondie was the biggest act, and they wanted to penetrate the U.S. market, so
Right.
you rent the audience. But
So here's the connection with Skunk and Duran. Duran is being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year,
you,
right? So I posed the question at the last day of the East Coast tour. I'm like, Mr. Baxter, being that you're in the Hall of Fame, I'm wondering if I can ask a favor. Maybe you can find out if I can get tickets to the Hall of Fame induction this year, because I think it's September, October or something.
what did he say?
I'll check into that.
Did you say for 3?
I did, but all 3 of those are taken. I'll ask for a 4th because I haven't done the follow-up ask yet. But I don't know. Like that's got to be a pretty good in, right?
Yeah.
Like he's in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he can, But that's huge. And I know both Andy and Warren are going to be there too. So
Really?
it's a big
Warren
deal.
Cucurullo, Andy Taylor.
Cucurullo is going to be there, and Andy Taylor is going to be there, and I just hope that Warren stays quiet and accepts his place. Cause
Are there issues with Warren and the rest?
well, I mean,
Didn't he co-write Ordinary World with?
well, yeah, he's
Yeah, he did.
responsible for that whole record, really.
Yeah, okay.
He's responsible for the second coming of Duran Duran. He
yeah.
saved their 90s career. And yeah, Come Undone and
Right.
yeah, Ordinary World. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any secret that Warren's got his own mental health battles And
What happened? They had to kick him out to bring Andy back.
Well,
in, right,
I mean, they
during the
gave him a
reunion?
nice severance. It was just that point in their career. It was approaching the anniversary year of
Duran Duran.
you know, and it was like, we should get the original five together. Great idea. Oh crap! What do we do with Warren? You know, and that's brutal. And
It is.
they've talked about it. They've talked about it in interviews, and they're like, that was one of the worst. Like,
Dick
what
move,
do you
yeah.
say? You know, but they gave him a nice severance package.
What's your skinny on Andy leaving? What was the reason?
Oh,
do
it
you- what
depends
do
on
you-
whose book you read.
I read Andy's book. Was that Wild Boy?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
read
yeah,
that, and then Into the Pleasure Zone by John Taylor.
Whatever the
Pleasure Groove.
Pleasure Groove.
Yeah,
Like
I
cornball.
read that too.
They're both very interesting books, and you really get. It really goes to show. One of my favorite quotes of all time. I've studied this business. I've studied all the documentaries, all the biopics, all the You try to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
And he's sometimes still become the rock and roll cliche and make bad decisions. But one of the most profound things I've ever heard come out of a rock star's mouth was Barry Gibb in his opening voiceover of the Bee Gees documentary.
What did he say?
There is no such thing as truth. There is only perspective. Because if you line up, I don't know,
Yeah.
Ken, Josie, me, we spent 6 years doing this, but we all have very different accounts of,
Yes. Yes.
what Ken did to me or what I did to that. Like,
Yes.
you line up all three of us, we're going to give you,
Different
there's
yeah.
going to be a little common denominator there.
Maybe we should do that. Line all through.
Yeah, that would be great.
Bring Ken and Josie finally.
We'll just talk to me. No, but it just makes really perfect sense. When he said that, I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
Yes.
He's like, me and my two brothers, we spent our entire careers together. He's the oldest, and sadly they're both passed, and he's the one telling this story. But he's like, if you line up all three of us, we're going to give, there's going to be some common denominators in the stories, but they're going to be through the eyes of that person. So, Andy's account of how,
Right.
it was a travel faux pas, in his book, he's like, well, I didn't make
I was
a
in
flight.
I was in Ibiza.
Yeah, well, on my private island, and you talk to the rest of the guys, and it's like, well, yeah, he didn't really want to be there, so he quit. If you ask Vince Neil, were you fired or did you quit Motley Crue? He'll tell you he was fired in whatever the 90s, and the rest of it, no, he quit. He was like, well, who the hell,
True.
Who knows? So.
There is
There
there's
is no truth. There's only perspective. And, your story is your story. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I can say about that.
I'll land it here. What advice can you give to those drummers on Instagram and TikTok and open your mouth?
The first thing, I can be a real jerk because a million things, but really, in all honesty, the first thing that comes to my mind, play with dynamics. Jesus.
Thank you. Thank you.
You young, there are these young drummers are just doing things that are unbelievable, like blazing chops.
There's a but.
The big but is you have no feel and no dynamics to your guns ablazing is not playing music.
Thank you.
And playing your covers and I'm so sick. I'm just gonna get
I
real
just
pissy
opened
here.
the can of
Real
worms.
pissy, but you know what? These
Preach.
16-year-old girls in half shirts that have more endorsements because they have 130,000 views because they're playing some cover,
Because they could play Everlong.
they've never played a gig outside their bedroom.
Nope.
Never.
Ever.
Now, okay, you have 110. I'm not going to be able to compete with that. I don't even want to do videos because I'm never going to compete with that.
Yeah.
Just don't care to, Play with dynamics. Get some feel. Start figuring out how to play some lighter, drop down in the verse and then open it up in the chord. Like, nobody's thinking about composition or arrangement anymore. They're just beating the shit out of their drums. And it's really annoying. But they look really good doing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Damian.
Yeah, baby. Oh,
Woo! I knew I was going to get you riled up. Yeah.